Hey, English 112 students, welcome to your outline overview video. What I've done is just copy and paste from your assignments this week, the outline overview. So that's in Blackboard with assignments. Remember, an outline is not a rough draft. So do not write a rough draft and post it in the discussion board for your outline assignment. I will give you a 0. The only paragraph I'm going to have in this outline is the introductory paragraph. I always ask you to write the introductory paragraph when you're working on your outline because I think it really helps serve as a guide for you as you're thinking about answering the questions in an outline or working on the different sections of an outline. But so that's the only paragraph you'll have. The rest of this, you're just going to be answering these questions in a brief statement. It doesn't even have to be a complete sentence right now because you're not writing a paragraph. And then you're going to find, remember, you need at least 2 to 3 quotes per paragraph. So you don't have to have, in main body paragraph 1, you've got, well, this is actually 2 paragraphs. You could break it up into 2 paragraphs when you actually start writing your rough draft. But I've got 6 questions here. So I really need to just find a quote for maybe the first 2 questions or the second 2 questions here to support my answers. And then same thing here if I decide to break these into 2 paragraphs. Here I've got 3 questions, so I need to find at least 2 quotes, one maybe for the first question, one for the third. It's really up to you, but you need at least 2 to 3 supporting quotes from your essay for each of your paragraphs. Your intro paragraph is different though. So we always find a quote for our first sentence, and that's a way to pull your reader into your writing. So it should be a strong quote, should be compelling. I would suggest a pathos quote. Remember, emotional means of persuasion are always going to be the strongest. So you've got a couple links with this week's assignments to help you find an essay. I'm going to work with The Santa Ana Winds by Joan Didion. It's an essay I know pretty well, so it'll help me get through this first part of this outline for you. I'm not going to go through the whole outline. That would take forever, but I am going to do the introductory paragraph with you and then show you how to work on the first regular paragraph or regular part of the outline. You can't see my screen, but I'm going to the essay, and I'm going to find a really strong quote for my introductory paragraph. Now, remember, I know this essay pretty well, so I know what I'm looking for. So you're going to have to get familiar with the essay that you're working with in order to find some of the stuff that you're looking for. So the first thing I'm going to do is find a really strong pathos quote to be my first sentence. Remember, after my quote, I put the author's name and page number in parentheses. I've got a quote inside a quote here, so I'm going to fix that by just adding one quotation mark there for the interior. Same thing over here. And I've got a quote within a quote. That's what I do. So I'm going to turn this blue. This is my first sentence. All right, I've got a good pathos quote, a good strong quote that's going to pull my reader in. What do I do next? I explain that quote in my own words. So in this All right, so I want to tell my reader who the author is, and I want to tell them the name of the work in my explanation quote, because if not, you need to give them context for what they're reading. You're leading your reader one sentence at a time through your writing, so you can't leave them hanging. You have to give explanations. So I just simply say in this quote by Joan Didion from her essay, I'm going to change that, Santa Ana Winds, she uses a visually compelling quote from the writer Raymond Chandler to describe the impact the winds can have on those living in Southern California. And I do use the word quote twice, which is not great, but I can go back and fix that later. All right, sentence 3, give your reader context. Tell them what the essay is about that you are analyzing. So I'm just going to expand on my last sentence where I kind of gave some explanation of the quote. I'm going to give a little bit more explanation, not just of the quote, but of the essay. All right, so I'm giving context. I'm just giving a brief one sentence overview. Each of these sentences should truly just be one sentence. And if you've written more than that, you've probably written too much. Sentence 4, why is this essay important to read right now? This was an essay that she wrote in 1969. Why is it important right now? Well, the winds are still impacting. All right, so the winds are still impacting this region. Even was 1969, that was 54 years ago. The winds are still impacting this region of the country. I'm going to add 54 years later with massive fires each year. Let's say causing massive fires each year, and also they seem to impact the overall feeling of well-being of some, I'm not going to say of all, but I can say of some Southern Californians. And then my transition sentence. A transition sentence just helps lead your reader from one paragraph to the next. So you're basically just giving them kind of a sneak peek of what your next paragraph is about. So tell your reader that what your second paragraph is about. My second paragraph is going to really go into more of the persuasive analysis. So why is this how does she really create a good argument? How does she create a persuasive argument? That's what I'm getting ready to tell my audience about. So I need to have a transition sentence that kind of relates to that. So I'm not going into the specifics of her rhetorical tools because I'm going to do that specifically in the next several, that's what my analysis is going to be about. But I basically just say, she is persuasive in this essay, and she uses some powerful, persuasive rhetorical tools to persuade her audience about the power of these wins, right? So it's kind of a generic sentence. It's one sentence, but again, that's what a good transitional sentence does. It just gives your reader a good idea of what's getting ready to come in the rest of your paper. Remember, they might not even know what these wins are. So you need to lead them. I don't know what your essay is about that you choose. Most of you, if you go to long reads and choose an essay, the best of 2023, I don't know what that essay is about. I haven't read all those essays. So you need to lead me through your paper, sentence by sentence, telling me the details so that I understand what you're talking about. You're writing for your audience and you're helping them understand something that you've read and understand and analyzed. All right, so this is my intro paragraph. See how easy that was? I just answered some questions. I found some details and I gave an overview. And now I've got a beautiful paragraph. When I double space that paragraph, it's going to be even longer than it is now. So that's the only paragraph I should have on my outline. All right. Do not give me paragraphs for the rest of your outline. I just want the intro paragraph. And you can answer the questions like I did up here and then kind of put your intro paragraph together like that. You can double space it if you want. And, I need to go back through here and wordsmith a little bit. It's not the best intro paragraph I've ever written, but I've got an idea now what I'm doing moving forward. So that's the purpose of you always coming up with that intro paragraph. Now, what am I going to do? I'm just going to answer these questions. Who is the author? Joan Didion. I know that. I don't need a quote to support that. I've already mentioned that in the first paragraph. What stake might he or she have in writing this piece? She lives in Los Angeles. She's felt the effect, the sometimes detrimental effects of these wins. How do I know that? I'm going to go find a quote to support that. Again, I know this essay pretty well, so I know where to find what I need. That's why you guys need to find an essay that you're interested in. Don't just pick some random essay that you don't care for. Pick something you're interested in. All right. I found a quote here from the second paragraph. Okay, what is at stake, or what might be at stake for her writing this piece? She was living in Los Angeles at the time in the late 60s when she wrote this. So she feels the winds personally impacting her. What is my quote to support that statement I just made? This is my statement that I made because I'm arguing, but I use support from the essay to support my argument. She says in the second paragraph, I rekindle a wanting argument with the telephone company, then cut my losses and lie down, given over to whatever is in the air. The winds are impacting her. They're making her feel bad. They're making her feel moody, Again, you need 2 to 3 quotes from your essay to support your arguments in each paragraph. Is the piece aimed at a particular audience? A hostile audience? A neutral audience? I look back at my essay. I answer that question. What is the author's thesis? All right. This is my argument. I answered that question. Now I need another quote from this paragraph that, I'm not writing a paragraph right now, but I will when I start working on my rough draft. So I'm going to go back to the essay. And find a quote that supports my argument. All right, she says in the second paragraph, to live with the Santa Ana is to accept consciously or unconsciously a deeply mechanistic view of human behavior. That is her thesis. I don't know where you guys are going to find the thesis. Usually it's towards the beginning, because what that author is doing for the rest of their paper is supporting that argument, that thesis. So you should be able to find their thesis somewhere in the first couple paragraphs. All right, and then I'm going to answer every single one of these questions, even if I don't find a quote for each question, which I don't have to do. Remember, I just need 2 to 3 per paragraph. I'm going to answer each of these questions, and I am going to find quotes to support my answers from the essay that I'm analyzing. If you do this thoroughly and do it correctly up front, your paper, your rough draft, will be written for you for the most part. So you've got your outline, you turn it in this week, and then next week you will take your outline that you did correctly because you followed Miss Williams' directions, and you will copy and paste it. You will delete, all the questions, and you will have a pretty cohesive rough draft that you don't have to do too much with. But we're doing this in baby steps. So we're just starting with our outline this week. And this is how we begin working on it. Copy and paste the outline overview to a Google or Word doc. Get that essay that you've chosen to analyze and just start analyzing it, answering questions about it. Read it once and then go back through and start answering questions. You're going to become familiar with it. And that's really all you have to do this week. And then you're posting that in the discussion board. You're posting your outline by Friday, and then you're looking at a couple classmates' outlines and giving them some feedback. Do they need more supportive quotes? Have they really answered every question thoroughly? Some people are not going to do what they're supposed to, so you can tell them that. But this is really what your outline should look like by the time you're done. You should have that intro paragraph, and then you should answer all the questions for the rest of the outline and have some quotes here and there, at least 2 to 3 per paragraph to support your analysis. If you have questions, reach out, and I hope everyone has a great week.